Hello everyone, I am Master Sergeant Keith Tolley. I'm an instructor for the Air Force Parachute Team, Wings of Blue. As many of you know, part of our mission is to perform demonstration jumps into stadium venues across the world. Also, as many of you know, this can be a tricky and dangerous business. My object here today is to give you a brief reminder of the canopy types, go over some of the pros and cons for each canopy type, and then finish off with some factors to consider. As I'm sure you have all seen a demo go bad, usually by a parachutist using the wrong type of canopy for the event they were jumping into. I think back about the pictures and videos on YouTube that we saw of the Army Golden Knight that was hung up on the lights in the stadium. That probably could have been prevented had he been jumping a different kind of canopy. So today, I would like to help you not make the same mistake that he did. First, we'll go over the three main types of canopies. The first being F111, which, as we know, this is the material type. It's the oldest canopy that we've been using, or type of material that we've been using. The pros for this are it's a very docile canopy, easy to sink into a stadium, easy to attach things as flags or streamers, and usually a little bit more forgiving if you were to stall it too high or overcompensate. The cons on this, though, are that it cannot penetrate wind very well. So high wind situation, it could be dangerous, or you could miss the stadium completely. It's much larger. It's harder to pack the parachute, and I honestly don't think it gives as much of a show to the crowd as some of the other canopies, such as zero porosity canopies, which we will discuss later. The next, we have the hybrid canopies. This is better than the F111 in winds, since the top skin is made of zero porosity and the bottom is made of F111. So it still has the ability to sink into the demonstration or into what you need, but it usually does cut a little bit better into a stronger wind than the F111, but still not quite as good as a zero porosity will. Cons, it's still very large. Since it being a newer canopy, it seems that we still have a few issues with it. Erratic response on occasion. We jump at altitude and we've had some problems with the openings being a little bit hard, so if you're planning on jumping cameras, it's probably not too good for that. As well as you'll usually have to adjust your lines to adjust the stall point. It tends to want to stall and rock back, where other canopies would probably just come down like some of the F111s. And also, due to the two materials being in there, the F111 and the zero porosity, it does not pack well. The two materials do not sit well on top of each other, and therefore can make packing, especially if you're doing packing at the stadium, more of a pain. And finally, we have zero porosity. Pros for this are it's much better in the wind. It usually, because it's smaller, is a little bit more versatile. The wing loading is usually more closer to 1-to-1 than F111 and hybrids, meaning that the canopy will respond better to your inputs. You are able to do both toggle rear and front riser inputs, whereas with the other canopies usually toggle and only some small riser inputs up high. Not that they matter that much, since the canopy is so large, the wing loading is not close enough. It's more of a 1.5, I believe. So it's not quite as versatile as the zero porosity. Zero porosity is also smaller and easier to pack. Cons, though, it is not quite as forgiving, so if you do make a mistake with a zero porosity, it will dive on you and it has a lower stall point. Zero porosities do flare better, and you'll get more of a glide angle out of it. And so if you wanted to come into a stadium with it, you could do tighter turns as opposed to trying to sink it in, like you would have to do with an F-111 or a hybrid. And you can just turn sharper to cut the corners of the stadium and then bring it in that way, as opposed to having to get out over the top and then hope that you sink it in directly. Some other contributing factors to this would be the size of the canopy in general. None of this would be possible or safe if you did not properly wing load the canopy. Over wing loading of any of the three types is definitely dangerous and should be avoided. But also, what I see a lot of is people underloading the canopies, especially when you're dealing with F-111 and hybrids, where say if you have a 100-pound girl on a 253 square foot canopy, the canopy is not loaded to the minimum of 0.6, which is very dangerous and could collapse the canopy and definitely does not respond well at all. And then finally, proper training for any of these before anybody should attempt to go into the stadiums. Make sure everybody's properly trained on any of the canopies they fly. Alright, so in conclusion, today we have covered the types of canopies, the pros and cons of each, and some additional factors to consider. In closing, I would like to remind everybody that our job as parachute demonstrators is to entertain the audience. If the demonstrator was to land in the parking lot instead of in the stadium due to jumping the incorrect canopy in high winds, then they have failed. Why not use the more versatile canopy from the start and land in the stadium on the 50-yard line to the sound of a roaring crowd? Thank you, and have a good day.